Okay. Okay, okay. Okay. Yeah. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it is. Welcome back to another Purpose Served podcast episode. Can y'all believe that we are on episode 86? Yeah! Clap, 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 clap. I wish I had the track thing that got you could press the button and get the noises and stuff. I said I was going to get that. I'm going to eventually get that. But yet again, thank y'all for tuning in to another Purpose Served podcast episode. And for those of you that's new and y'all just tuning in, this podcast is simply about being the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. Living off purpose, living off meaning, bringing that out. And I tell y'all what, throughout this journey of doing Purpose Served, I've been learning a lot. And the one thing that I've been learning about, which has been the primary focus with Purpose Served, is human nature. Human nature has been a heart of all of this. And I tell y'all what's been helping me grow as a person, as a man, is understanding that at the heart of the matter of all of this, I have a spirit and I have a soul. And I'm happy for I guess those that's been tuning in for a minute. Y'all feel a vibe. I say that all the time. Vibrations are important. And I'm starting to recognize why it is essential for me personally to live out what my soul and spirit requires of myself. Because at the heart of the matter, I started to understand that I'm way more than this body, this physical body. This joint decaying as we speak. As with y'all listening, I don't mean to disturb y'all, but it's gonna be light at the end of the tunnel for this one. It definitely is. But since I'm in this thing that's decaying, there's something that came before that allowed this body to be what it is. And around 2022, that was cringe saying that, 2022, through working with Grace, which if the OG's listening, y'all know who Grace is. She helped me through breathing to recognize, my spirit and soul. And it was indirectly. It wasn't intentional. The experience, dead serious, just so happened to be what it was. And I stopped working with Grace doing the breathing practices, I want to say last year. Last year around April. So I want to say for 2.5 years, every single week, for 1 hour, I was dedicating that 1 hour to myself exclusively. What? You know how hard that is? Everybody want to do that. But actually doing that is difficult. Difficult as hell, y'all. For real. And I'm going to give y'all a rundown exactly how it went. Because she challenged me all across the board. I'm going to describe y'all Grace in a nutshell. If y'all want to go back to my early podcast episodes, what episode was she on? Hold on now. We're about to find out. We're about to get the facts. But while finding the number to that, just if y'all want to go back and listen to that, those that's new, or you're trying to figure out who this Grace person is, shout out to Grace, OG, OG. Um, she's the type of person where she's very, very empathetic. I knew off the rip that Grace was extremely sensitive, and she's a social worker, and she first started working as like pretty much, I want to say like a guidance counselor in the schools, and I think it was like what I think was it. I think it was Baltimore, and Baltimore is vicious, yo. Shout out to Baltimore. But you know what I mean? In the heart of Baltimore is vicious. It's real vicious. And story of all hoods all across America, because I was birthed and raised in one of those, hoods. Shout out to Newark, New Jersey. Shout out to my stomping grounds. Breed of Legends. Breed of Legends. Shout out to Queen Latifah. Shout out to Lauryn Hill. Do y'all homework on Newark. Shout out to Shaquille O'Neal. Do y'all homework on Newark. Shout out to Whitney Houston. Do y'all homework on Newark. Well, I'll say East Orange, but yeah, she worked in these areas, and Grace is white. Not to put color into it, because color absolutely don't have nothing to do with it. I mean, it does to it in a sense, but it was a lifestyle that was contrary to hers, and this is going to be a huge talk of this podcast is culture shock, because culture shock is real, and we gonna be going all over the place as we do. But follow me, I'm gonna get y'all there. But culture shock is you leaving your tribe and you going out and experiencing another tribe that's contrary from what you're used to, contrary from your immediate family. And for her, it was overwhelming for her. And I can understand why. You're dealing with kids that's dealing with high levels of stress, you feel me? A lot of these kids in these hoods, in these cities, they don't got no government like funding for like kids for after school programs. They cut those to enforce more the law. And it's a scheme, to be quite honest, because at the heart of the matter, what I started recognizing for myself personally, and this is me speaking real candid with y'all real quick, is when you wake up and really see what's going on, you see that a lot of stuff is a facade. And we're not really out here healing the wound. We're just putting a Band-Aid over it and acting like we don't see it by simply covering it up. And that's not good. That's really not. And through working with Grace, she taught me to recognize that, understand that, and bring attention towards it, and give that thing its proper healing. And when I tell y'all that's an extremely difficult thing to do, oh my God. But that's the starting point. That is the starting point. And it was episode 21 that Grace was on. That's crazy. Like I said, we on episode 86. Grace is on episode 21. So if y'all want to check out that episode with her talking about her work and everything and what she do, that's going to be episode 21. And if y'all want to go on YouTube, you can also see it on there as well. But Grace is a very, very lighthearted person. And I'm the exact opposite of lighthearted. My persona comes off as lighthearted, but I'm not a lighthearted person. And you guys can tell by the topics at hand and how intensely I talk about these topics. And it stems from me being a product of my environment. And I experienced 2 culture shocks myself. And through working with Grace, it helped me realize that, right? And the first culture shock that I experienced was moving to the suburbs and being around white people for the first time. That was different. And it let me know quick that the behavior that was acceptable where I came from was not acceptable in this area. And I was 13. And I was a very aggressive kid, yo. Very aggressive. There was an incident that I had in the 3rd grade where I was so pissed off. I took all the pencils out of all my classmates' desks and I went to go stab a kid in the eye with these pencils, yo. Real talk. 9 years old, capable of that type of aggression. But coming from where I came from, that's normal. That's still kind of on the extreme side because I'm not saying that all kids was acting like that. I was a pretty bad kid. And crazy enough, shout out to my mom. She seen how alarming that was in the direction that I was going in, which caused that move and which caused me to experience that culture shock, which is insane. A lot of people are surprised the type of person that I am today, but they don't understand the journey, how much I went through. And I'm nothing special. I'm no different from y'all, and I highlight that all the time on this podcast. And that's why I introduce all different people from all different walks of life to show that even though we all may be different, we low-key all going to the same destination and we headed towards one goal. And we have to, this is the whole point of the Purpose Served brand, by living that out to the fullest, to the highest degree. Not the lowest, but the highest. That's an upper aim. We all should get to the same place. But it's just going to be at a different point, different place, different time. But we blinded to that. Because like I said, these illusions, like colorism, which is crazy. It's really a part of our everyday life. And the wicked thing, the real wicked thing about this all is, like, for me, personally speaking, I know for a fact I'm here today because somewhere down the line on my family tree, somebody had enough will and strength and blessing, most importantly from God, to make it across that Atlantic Ocean from the western part of Africa to the States 300 plus years ago for me to be speaking to y'all right now. And a lot of other people in real time 300 years ago didn't have the will to do that. And they killed themselves and went overboard. Shut their whole lineage down just like that. So I'm truly grateful for that. And I have to pay it forward to my ancestors. But like I said, this is not a colorism thing. Straight up. Because, like I said, I learned a valuable lesson, not from somebody that was black, but somebody that was white. And not even that, it wasn't even a man. It was a woman who truly was patient with me and taught me how to get in tune with myself in a practical sense. And I tell y'all what, If y'all looking for a Street Fire way to do that, like I keep saying, is different for everybody. Everybody got to find their own way. And it's crazy. If you guys do your research on cymatics, 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 you're going to find something extremely interesting. And it has to do with sound and vibration and what that does to a surface. And you can see how sound and vibration affects water at different frequencies. And you can see what frequencies are harmonious to the water, and you can see what frequencies are disharmonious to the water based off of the ripple patterns. And guess what, people? Newsflash for you. Our bodies are made up of a majority of water. Newsflash for you. This planet that we're living on is made up of majority of the water, of water. So what we say and what we do is extremely important. And going on specifically the things that we say, that's involving the air that we breathe. We need our voice box. We need our vocals. We need our lungs. We need our lips. We need our tongue to communicate what we are feeling on the inside, what we are seeing on the outside, what we are hearing on the inside. But through me working with Grace and focusing on breathing and 1 hour to myself every week for 2.5 hours, I learned how to get in contact with my spirit and soul directly. And then that's just the base level. I understood and I knew. I did not believe. I have to put an emphasis on it. I knew that I was created by something. I'm an act of creation, but I'm not a creator. And through me deeply breathing in rhythmic patterns and balancing myself, I was able to get there. So it would start off, right, with me simply journaling and first talking to her and checking in on how my week was and all of that. Which I'm the type of person, it was even hard and challenging for me in the beginning of this podcast. I don't really talk about myself a lot. I really don't. And even on here, I'm still challenged in that regard. To be quite honest, I'm just naturally a private person. But she challenged my vulnerability. And through challenging my vulnerability, I had to get through a lot of barriers and I had to break a lot of thresholds. But then I started realizing the only thing that all of that required was my attention. And I had to start looking with the mind's eye. And not my physical two eyes, but that space in between your two eyes. That can see the outside, but that also sees the inside. And things get projected to those eyes from deep down inside. And I realized that from closing my eyes and deeply breathing. And the first thing that Grace would say is check in with your body. What feels uncomfortable? all of that. And the whole point was getting to a total point of relaxation, relaxing my whole entire body. That's difficult because a lot of us got racing minds that's going a billion miles per hour and it's sending us a billion miles per hour in the future, or it's sending us a billion miles per hour in the past. And it seemed like we don't got no control of it over it. But think about what you're consuming on a daily that makes you not have control over yourself. And the challenging thing is, what I realized through this deep, deep, deep inner journey that I had with myself, is people can give you the best advice that they possibly can, but it's only from their perspective. And you have to go back to the source from which you came from. And every last one of us came from the same source. And through the lectures that I've done, through the talks that I had, I realized how important finding your purpose actually is. All of this is insane. But think about a circle. And when you're looking with your inner eye, and what I was doing with my eyes closed, it gets dark, obviously, like I said, but images and visions pop up. And you have to treat those things like they're real. And you have to look at these things objectively with no intention. And that requires an extremely high level of focus. A lot of people play around with this stuff and they tap dance around it. But they feel that pull from the inside. They feel that their soul tugging down at them, because it's requiring them to do something of a higher magnitude than what they're typically doing it at. And if you're listening to this and this is hitting heavy right now, this is your soul talking to you. It needs you. We are an expression of our spirit and soul. And I always talk about the definition of expression because it's extremely important to know the root of these words and what they mean. Because like I said, semantics, what your words say, you better be harmonious with it, because they give off a certain frequency, whether you like it or not, whether you know what you're saying or not. But we don't know how to speak our language. Something that I talked about on here as well. And that is getting all of those things in balance. And a lot of us are at different points in that circle. Instead of being in the dead middle center of the circle, look at the purpose served logo. Where that PS is at, that's where you ultimately want to be at. That's you heading towards that aim, the highest aim that you have for yourself. And you must do that through purpose. And once you get to that, once you get to your soul, which is through your heart, that's the surface level. Once you pierce through your heart and get to the bottom of your heart, you're going to land at your soul. And your soul is going to require an ascension to your spirit. And the spirit is going to fall and drop from that heavenly realm to your soul and animate it with your purpose of what you truly supposed to be doing. But you're going to be blocked out and you won't see that. You won't get to experience that because you're not tapping in with yourself. 60 minutes was so difficult out of 24 hours. 23 I got to myself. That one, well, 23 is to the world, I will say. And that one was to myself. And I had to stop looking at that as like a task, Because it started to seem like that, like a chore after a while. It was cool at first, but sitting there, certain times it was just uncomfortable. But through the heart of the matter, God ultimately showed me that I have to go all the way back to my origins and get grounded in order to build up. And through this, I was also to see that nature worked simultaneously like that. So popping this off, because I said, like, you know what I mean, purpose served ultimately made me enthusiastically and as inquisitive as I possibly can. It made me want to understand human nature. And nature came before humans. And this is why I say we're a byproduct of everything that we see on the outside of us. But everything on the outside of us is a byproduct of what's within those things. The spirit. Which, just like I say, heart, piercing that, you get to the soul, you pierce your thoughts, you get the spirit. Mind, heart, body, your mind, brain, the vessel for your mind. We have lost the meaning of this due to the fact that we just use terms like casually, carelessly. And words are superpowers. It shapes who we are. The things that people told you that made you insecure about yourself, shape who you are. Words. And I tell y'all what, through that 2-year journey, it made me realize what I was doing everything for. And the second culture shock that I experienced came 10 years later from that first one. And shout out to my European listeners, because Europe is a beautiful, beautiful continent. And going back to leaving your tribe for a different vibe, I experienced 2 extreme ones. In Spain, the beautiful city of Girona that I played basketball in. What a beautiful, beautiful vibe. Beautiful people. Nice people. The wall that's surrounding the city of Girona. The beautiful cathedral. Spiritual. I used to wander around that city for hours. For hours. And I was in total shock. Like, seriously. Shops being closed down on Sundays. I wasn't used to that. American. Black. It's different black in Europe. That's like African black. It ain't like, you know what I mean, hood American black. And I told you guys, when my first day out and I left the country for the first time to go play basketball, to chase a dream, not to visit, not to go on vacation, but strictly business. Scary. Because like I said, I broke my phone. And all my information was on that phone. This is back in 2017. Now, people can't leave their crib without their phones now, without getting crazy anxiety, without flipping out like going to work or going to school. Now, imagine leaving a country and you don't got your phone. I was 22 and I was all by myself. And I had a choice to make in real time. Was I going to stay or was I going to leave and get this experience that I did not know what was on the other side? I did not know how challenging everything was about to be. Like, for real. And I went anyway, because that's just simply the type of person that I am. And when I got there, story I tell all the time, I got my phone from a supermarket, and it, I was like thrown off when I walked in, hit culture shock, because it was a supermarket that sold appliances, that sold had an electronic section, a butcher shop, and a laundromat all in one building. And the lady at the register spoke straight up Spanish. And even with that, I didn't even know that it was different types of Spanishes out there. Crazy. I didn't know there was a difference between Catalonian Spanish and Caribbean Spanish and like Mexican Spanish. You know what I'm saying? Crazy. You know? But the world is huge, man. It is huge. And a lot of us get trapped in in a crab in the barrel, where everybody in the environment where everybody pulling us down, and it's mainly the people that we start off with and love most. Our friends, our family, our brothers, our sisters, our mom, our dad, that's making us feel less of ourselves. But the world is a huge place. And I'll tell y'all right now from experience, like I said, shout out to my people in Europe. Like I said, shout out to Germany. I'm going to be out there one day. And those that's been listening, we will meet. We will meet in person. That will be a very legendary conversation. But I was in awe, man. I was in awe. The beautiful park of Girona. That was right next to Fontejol, the arena that I played in. Beautiful. And it was overwhelming to take in. But I didn't expect to be there playing basketball. You know, that culture shock, when I came to the suburbs, my main primary focus was basketball. That's literally when I fell in love with basketball. I liked basketball when I was in the hood, but when I left, I loved basketball. I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And those next 6 years of my life, from 13 to 19, 20, was crazy. I didn't play at all in high school. Well, for my team. I played in other leagues. I tore my ACL. I blew my knee out at 17 years old. All reasons to quit. All reasons to stop. All of that. And I also dropped out of college. Picked up a record. Living a very fast life. And then a year after that, I decided to go to Europe to play basketball. Because the opportunity presented itself. And on it, I was discouraged, man. But something in me knew that that's where I had to go, and I had to challenge myself. And that's exactly what I did, without knowing what the result was going to be. And that's okay. And through grace, I learned that that was okay. During that time, I didn't know it. This is Daryl talking in hindsight. This is Daryl talking in hindsight. But them breathing practices sent me backwards, but it also sent me forwards. In the flow of breathing, we breathe out 70% of toxins every single time we exhale. And now I know and understand how important it is to take deep breaths and get grounded and centered in yourself. And that's an easy way to tap in and be present at any moment by simply focusing on your breathing. But through sitting there and doing all of this, I realized, like I said, that there is a higher calling for me. And I can make the choice to accept the highest calling, but once I make that choice, there's no turning back around. I have to commit through and through all the way. And I promised myself that I was going to do that. And one of the last things that I wrote to myself, and I'm going to read y'all the exact date and all of this. Because these things over time, as I was reading them, because I created a document where, like I said, I typed all of this stuff up, my journal entries and all of that. And afterwards, when I do these breathing exercises, I journal to myself on what I'm feeling. And one of the last things that I wrote in this, and this is going to close everything off before I make my closing statements. This is towards the end of the journey that I had with Grace. Vulnerable stuff here, people. I ended up getting what I asked for. This is March 13th, 2023. I called for my spirit to show me my original nature, and it was revealing itself to me without my knowing at first. Through reflection and deep pondering, I landed in the field of my emotions. Those raw emotions filled my spirit and took a hold of me. Once my awareness arrived at the starting point of my being, I realized that I was already in my original state. It showed me a moment from my childhood that was repressed. Side note, that was the moment that I told y'all about with those pencils in that classroom. Repressed. Look up that word if you don't know what it means. Continuing on reading. That was the gate I entered in to start my journey. God revealed to me that my path has a lot more to offer. I'm learning the middle passage. That's leaving me just enough room for me to keep going towards my destination. Don't focus on the struggle. Don't focus on the freedom. Focus on the peace of what is. Shalom, people. Now, this is the same day, a different entry. I've reached a new level of understanding across the board. The silence has finally pushed me out temporarily to show me what I needed to know. I've become very comfortable to the wholeness of myself. None have come before me. None will come after. I am a swirling force of unconditional peace, and I felt it. I was expecting resistance to the presence of the whole. I prepared for it. I've been in constant communication with my ups and downs to genuinely know that they are one and the same. I trust myself more than ever. The inner and outer reflect each other. This is where my uniqueness is formed. This is what connects me to my loved ones. All that came and will go. Their uniqueness shaped me, and so the ripple goes on. I courageously accept the things that's out of my control and put my knowing into the powers that be. God. My spirit has been blessed with the purpose of reflecting that to others. I so honorably accept. And I wrote a check mark and I put my signature to it. Now, this very last entry was a poem. Blessings. This is the start of blessings for many. This blessing isn't restricted to just human beings. It's for whoever and whatever. For us, the earth is where we can recognize that best. Where else? We really take a step back and humbly kneel at this wonder. The will of the blessing is very gentle and provide warmth, like a fire. I know a way to connect with these blessings. You can simply be a blessing to everything. These blessings tend to whisper to those with ears to their heart. So listen up, people. This brings us to the end of this podcast episode. Thank y'all for tuning in and hanging on for this long. Special announcements. We now have 2 ebooks that's ready. They're quick reads. We have World of Purpose that's available on the Purpose Served website. That's going to be in the description below. We also have Power in the Mind's Eye. Ideas to Results, the step-by-step guidebook that's also going to be in the description below. So World of Purpose, something I've been talking about pretty much this whole entire year, even going into last year. It's highlighting the fact that we're living in a world of purpose, and we have to align our subjective world to the objective world. And it's the first volume is discovery. That's the theme. And the 10 individuals that I spoke on, that's going to be the main focus, is Albert Einstein, Joseph Campbell, George Lucas, Stan Lee, creator of Marvel, the creator of Star Wars, E equals MC squared, you know what I'm saying? Albert Einstein, Abraham, the father of many nations, that started off, believing in, one God. Well, he didn't start it off, but it was the beginning of Genesis, is the telling of that tale through Abraham. And Isaac Newton, Malcolm X, my guy, Masashi Miyamoto, the samurai, Moses. All of these people are going to lay the foundations to World of Purpose, like going forward. And through this, you guys will definitely learn a lot about these individuals. And not only that, understand that you are most likely partaking in a form or function that's very similar to what they did and the impact that they left to the world, that changed the world. Like, you are most likely doing the same similar things. And you will learn that through World of Purpose. So yeah, going by that and have it available on your phone. And the same thing with the Ideas to Results. That's a step-by-step guidebook on how you can bring your ideas from your head into the actual world, expressing your spirit and your soul, and highlighting the important faculties to these things. So yeah, they're only $5. So yeah, $4.99 each. So yeah, like I said, that's going to be in the description below. By doing that, you are supporting this podcast. You are supporting the purpose of the brand. And through that, we're going to be able to expand more with the workshops that I've been doing, the lectures, and hopefully I can bring this to a city or a town near you and meet you guys in person. So it starts with the little things first, man, so we can get this thing snowballing. But thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate every last one of y'all from the bottom of my heart, like truly. At first, I thought I was talking to myself. Something that I talk about when I first started doing these podcasts. It was cringe for me at first. But thank y'all for letting my voice reach our ears. And I hope that this is inspiring y'all to express yourselves to the highest degree that you possibly can to shed y'all light. Don't dim it. Don't dim it for nobody. Express your uniqueness, and by doing that, you are serving your purpose, and you need a goal to do that, to live out your purpose. It gives you an aim, and you do that through a base foundation, serving others, picking up a service, and you help yourself, and you also help the world around you. So thank y'all yet again. Until next time, y'all. Deuces. Serve your purpose.